So let's just get started. No hate in this video whatsoever. I respect this person. I respect this debate. And I think it's really important for other people to watch this debate in full so they can get a full scope of just how misled the community actually is, and that there are good scalers out there.
He believed that he could defeat the hand and reshape the multiverse.
Yeah, so what he's saying here is entirely his opinion with no facts and no scans, even though I preface this by saying you have to provide some facts and evidence. You can't just say stuff.
He believes he can, and what's shown here that isn't true. Well, I don't know why you're using like an earlier issue.
So watch how he flips backwards on this.
Like it's directly stated in like later sources that like that's not true.
So it's one issue before what he's talking about. It's not after. He said later issues, but it's the issue before.
This is a later issue in 6. I'm talking about 7.
Yeah, I meant isn't, not is. Clearly 6 comes before 7.
But again, if you read, you're getting tired, Mike. I mean, I could sense all the remaining crisis energy was directed to me. He was getting stronger because Perpetua.
So the scans there say that he's getting weaker, and he can't give himself any other energy. So okay, Perpetua yeah, so says it right there.
Hang on, let me show you.
So what he's saying isn't valid. And I had the entire series there. I have it in physical copies too. But I don't really like to use the online websites like that. I don't agree with using them. I'd rather people go actually buy them. But in cases like this, I kind of have to use them because, you know, I can't copy and paste the physical copies.
Is like weaker than Perpetua, and I'm arguing that TDK is stronger than the hands.
I also did. That wasn't even the topic of the argument to begin with. So I don't know where he got that from. I'm like, I never argued that. Yeah, it wasn't my argument at all. So.
Okay, so wait, what are you arguing?
I wasn't arguing anything. All I did was ask him if I could ask a few questions so I can understand where he was coming from.
So my judge can see. Okay.
Look at how bad my desktop is lagging. So I'm on a laptop at work, not at home. It's awful to try to record and also be on Discord at the same time.
Fine. I mean, like one of the reasons like why TDK was nerfed in the fight with Antichrist was when Superboy Prime was able.
So he's claiming that TDK was nerfed when he was actually amped. He was getting stronger.
But in this scenario, I still think that like TDK could still take down Kaz with just like no 52 universes.
Yeah, that's wild. And we'll show you later when he agrees with me later that is not accurate in the slightest. So he said the Earths represent universes, which is generally true, but not in this case because it was the plot point of the Darkest Night to take his own Earths from different universes and then throw them in the dark multiverse. Not that he was throwing other universes in, that he was plucking Earths, planets out, and throwing him into the dark multiverse so he could then corrupt them.
Oh wait, we're not talking about Cass, we're talking about Captain Allen.
Yeah, he's all over the place on this one. There's like 2 different things going on here, and I'm just like, geez. Like that's not what the topic was to begin with. So we see planets being smashed into Perpetua's face, the same planets that he used to gather up. They're not universes. They were regular planets from outer space. Again, it's not even opinion. It's just shown blatantly right in the panels, and I do show them here. Again, I'm looking for the scan with Perpetua
the thing about the Earth.
Standing next to one of the planets, and it's Earth on fire. And it's not a universe, and the Darkest Night then picks up more Earths from different universes. He's not picking up universes, he's picking up Earths, as in planets.
I'm pretty sure, like in DC, every time they show universes, it's always just Earths.
Yeah, that's not true, that's not every time. So, again, in this specific scene here,
that's like exactly
the context is different for what those circular things are right there. Like, again, it has a molten core, it's floating in space. things like that are regular planets. They're not universes. Universes don't crack open and have molten lava on the inside.
As represented by the universes.
So one of those that he was holding is the one that he smashes into Perpetua's face. So those are regular Earths.
Yeah, he's talking about a multiverse that laughs, and as you can see, like, clearly he's not holding a multiverse, he's holding Earths. Earths represent different universes.
Yeah, so again, that wasn't the context of what he did in the comic book.
When this more recent one,
he took Earths to toss in his new multiverse. They aren't universes. Wait. Why?
Lando, here's another one. When Darkseid creates the absolute universe, he makes the old Earth stuff.
Yeah, dude, that scan is like super blurry though, man.
Yeah, that's regular outer space with galaxies and stars in the background. That's not bleed space that holds all of the Earths. That's just regular outer space holding an actual Earth.
Wait, Monitor, where do you think fucking Captain Allen scales? Regular space in the background, bro.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my fault.
Yeah, he wanted to talk about Captain Allen versus the Darkest Knight, but I just wanted to ask him a couple questions so we can get to that point, so we can understand what he understands about Final Crisis and Captain Allen and the Darkest Knight and all that stuff before we can even start debating anything. I wanted to gauge his level of knowledge and understanding of the comics and the guidebooks and what he agrees with or disagrees with author statements and editorials and all that stuff, which he makes very, very clear very shortly. It's just a regular planet. He's literally holding a regular planet. And again, you could see Perpetua there is being technically burned by the lava of the inside, like the molten core of a regular Earth. Those are not universes. There are some references and illustrations where an Earth does mean universe, but not in the ones that he was smashing into her face. Not the ones that he was holding, because he takes one of them and smashes it into her face and it explodes with a molten core. So, and again, showing the picture of him holding it in regular space.
Illustrations are literal for universes, so then why is the
you could see it right there in the upper left corner. That was the picture. I missed it. I went to the wrong picture there.
What does the bleed look like then?
So he doesn't know what bleed space is or what the color of bleed space is.
It's red. Yo, can you show that?
There's a million different references to bleed space being red usually in the illustrations. Bleed space holds all the universes. That's a fact. I think most DC Comics enthusiasts know bleed space is exterior all of the universes, right? Space is not bleed space. Bleed space is completely outside of the universe and holds all of the universes in DC. And here I'm just plucking things, and I think I accidentally used the Marvel one, which is my bad. But all the others, there's 50 different scans for bleed space being red. So, cause I.
Wait, yo, Monitor, why the fuck did you post a thing from Marvel?
Yeah, I'm copying off the panels that I don't have in my inventory.
What the fuck?
No, and literally, look at right. No, right there literally proves it. Dude, Monitor, you literally just proved my argument for me.
She's from Marvel, bro. That's the last one. What the fuck
You're copying off Google. You're copying off Google, bro. What is your argument, dog? Dude, hang on, bro. Dude, Monitor, where do you think Captain Allen scouts? Okay, I'm just gonna ask that question out of the way. Where do you think he scouts, cosmology-wise?
And I'm not letting him go forward with the other questions. We're going to stick on bleed space. We're going to stay on the Darkest Knight and Perpetua. I'm not going to divert to any other topics until he answers these. I think it's fair, right? Yeah, I told you, it was supposed to be a Q&A first so I can know where you're coming from. It wasn't anything hostile, or I wasn't trying to trick you or anything like that. I never met you before. I don't know anything about you. I want to know what your level of knowledge is, what you have read, what you haven't read, what you think about author statements and guidebooks and editorials and illustrations and all that stuff. I was just trying to ask a few basic questions and we never even got to that point.
It's not bleed, it's regular space. Wait, where do you think TDK and Perpetual were fighting?
They were fighting in space. Yeah, it was certainly below the source wall. They were not in the
That's fine if
overvoid.
it's below the source wall, but
They were not in the
I think it's above
overvoid.
the bleed.
They were not in bleed space either.
I think it's above the bleed. The source wall is not below the bleed. That is actually, hang on. What? Hang on. No way.
Yes way. So, and then this is where it kind of derails, where I'm posting guide entries and author statements, and they don't want to accept any of them. It's not something that I'm okay with. Like, I'll respect them if they don't want to do that. That's fine, but it's not something I'm going to do. I'm going to respect the author no matter what. It's their story. They wrote it. They spent years crafting it for us, and it's also part of the guidebook. So.
Piece itself is contained in the bleed. Where is this talking about the bleed, first of all? Second of all, I want you to take a look at the actual multiverse map that's not only been used, like, it's literally been used multiple times since its inception, and I don't know why you're trying to contradict it.
I wasn't trying to contradict
Even
it.
if you can prove what Morrison said is true, I'm not going to listen to it because I'm not going to apply author statements that are out of the context of the story.
But that's the problem. They were in the story.
Yeah, I just think this.
He doesn't know that the Multiversity Guidebook is a comic book
I don't
and
agree
also a
to
guidebook.
the
That's
things
where
outside
the
story.
big fault of this usually occurs.
I don't agree with their interpretation.
No, Grant is explaining his own story in Final Crisis and the Multiversity. So it's not outside of the story. He's literally explaining the story.
Okay, well, the author explaining their own story isn't interpretation, it's the facts. When it's outside of the story, it becomes interpretation, though.
Grant's the one who approved of all of that.
You over relying on author statements that are completely outside of the story would be like an appeal to authority.
Yeah, the Multiversity Guidebook is the guidebook.
There's a revision of the facts in the guide of the story. Okay, but so the guy. Okay, wait. Are you taking this from like a data book, or are you taking this from author statements? Because data books are a completely different story.
It's not an objective statement he's using there. It's completely subjective opinion.
They don't go through any editorial process, so their interpretation can't be correct. The map is made by Grant, and it's a comic guidebook. Where's the guidebook? Which one's the guidebook? The Multiversity Guidebook.
Okay. Can we get back? So what's the fucking point? What point are we on right now? We're on the. You guys are trying to argue what the fuck.
Yeah,
the
he thinks
is?
the bleed is above the source wall, and I'm disagreeing. He's saying there's author statements that Grant Morrison in an interview said the bleed is above the source wall. I argue that's not true because I don't agree with author's interpretation because it doesn't go through any editorial process. Each universe contains a source wall. Bro, what? Yeah, okay, then there's two different. Okay, there's like separate source walls. Then there's the source wall and source walls.
Only in Death of the New
the
Gods.
difference between God and gods. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah. If you look in the guidebook, like you're saying the source wall is below the bleed, right? But the bleed is like way past like the speed source wall, and the source wall to like the actual source is like right well above it.
Yeah.
It can be above the source walls in the universes, yeah, but it can't be above like
Incorrect.
It can't be
Yeah,
above
the source wall. The source wall. It can have smaller source walls. It's like, for example, like there's God in DC, the source, and then there's gods like Zeus and Odin. Like those guys aren't, just because they have the name doesn't imply that they inherently scale to like the peak version of it.
Wait. So, Mara, what's your source for the source of bleeds being above?
Sources from the guidebook, and author statements, which we know he's not really going to accept. But that's fine.
I don't know where he's getting his source from.
I'm trying to explain to him that the Multiversity Guidebook is a comic book. It is the source material.
Again, Monitor, stop using author statements. They aren't applicable because they don't go through any editorial process.
Like, I get it might be confusing. It's called the guidebook, but it's also a comic book.
Okay, let me see this. Where's this? Limbo, Underworld, Otherworld, Phantasm, Oz, Grand Substance, I forgot where Limbo is the place where DC and other companies dominant properties. Okay, where does it say that, like, that the bleed is above the source wall?
So yeah, Bleed contains Marvel and DC, and literally everything.
Where does it say that?
And it's also based on this science and religious map. You're looking at a cone or a cup from the top down. You're not looking at a flat disk. That's not how it is. It's based on the SETI map, the Universe M theory map.
Bro, M theory is based on, this map is based on the Kabbalistic God creation map. There's also M theory. Bro, what are you talking about?
This is map.
Yeah, he's using the map. He's using the Kabbalah tree to like support his claim. But there's no mention of the Kabbalah.
It is there is multiple mentions.
Similarities, but that doesn't inherently apply to scaling when the scaling itself directly contradicts your statements. Again, this is another thing. I don't want to jump points, but again,
this had nothing to do with the cosmic armor. So
because while your statement is saying that like the void contains everything and it's within the cosmic armor, there's still things beyond the overvoid, like the source. So your point makes no sense.
There's nothing. The source is inside of the overvoid. It's even in the comic books that you were referencing in Metal, where it says the source is at the center of the greater omniverse, which is the overvoid. So it's not above the overvoid; it's inside of the overvoid. And also, the context of the source is completely different between the series.
Okay, again, wait. Where did you get these statements from? Here's the
again, the multiversity.
Here lies the monitor mind, the source, and the unknowable. Okay, so notice how it says monitor mind.
All three are the
unknowable,
overvoid,
right? So it's putting monitor mind first, which implies it has the least amount of like authority over the
only thing that exists outside there is the cosmic armor, which is the source.
Like, jeez. Monitor mind is a source without parameters. Yeah, can you prove that for me? And also, I want you to like, hang on, I want you to give me the source for both of these scans right here.
There's Nerdist.
Those are grant interviews. Okay, again, why are we using interviews when they don't go through any sort of editorial process?
Because they were written into the Multiversity Guidebook.
Interviews, and you've continued to use them because they aren't applicable. Where does the source get listed?
So he thinks the source is above the overvoid.
Monitor mind the source and the unknowable.
It's inside of the overvoid. Because the source is the cosmic armor.
Overvoid? No, it's not. It's above the overvoid. There's nothing beyond the overvoid? Yes, there is. The source. You have no idea what the Kabbalah said about the void.
Wait, Lando, before we continue.
I'm like,
Alright, monitor. Here's the thing, right? You can say like that Grant Moore can say this, right? But that wouldn't really mean shit in the grand scheme of like DC, because what's it called? Because authors can say whatever the fuck they want for certain stories. Like, what's his name? The guy does Invincible. He said that Mark could be Superman. That doesn't mean
there's tons of different variants of Superman that he can take out.
It's what the author thinks. It's not what DC themselves thinks. No, it's like, yeah, but like, it fucking, what's it called? Dude.
You're generating lots of fanfics? What fucking fanfics am I using?
Monitor, that's not the point. I'm saying that one author can say another thing, but the whole DC verse can prove it. It's like, that's wrong. Like, again, Mark.
Except all the author canons are on the Grant Morrison guide map as different numbers, so that's what he's not understanding. He doesn't understand the context there. Again, not my opinion. That's directly from the guidebook and other authors and editors too. Even Scott Snyder said that the Perpetuaverse Cosmology is another hypertime lane using the Grant Morrison map. So just imagine a new number on the map, and that's the entire Perpetua series. The Metal series itself all the way to the end of Dark Crisis would be a new number. Make up whatever number you want, it doesn't matter. And outside of that is Bleed Space. So it's based on this science map here. When you're looking into it from a frontal point of view, that's what you're seeing, the flat disk. But from a side point of view, it's a cone. Or a cup. Yeah, again, that's in the Multiversity guidebook. And it's also stated a few times when it's drawn from the side, like in the Flash series. And a few other illustrations as well.
The map is based off of an image from SETI. What? It's a cone on a flat disk for looking into a cup. Yeah, can you prove that it's not? Can you prove that? Hang on. Sources in the overvoid. What is this?
So you can see it there in the bottom right. That is the same multiverse map seen from a side view. It's not time. It's not like a Mobius loop or anything like that, or a black hole loop or anything. It's supposed to be creation that he was talking about in that specific scene. It's the same thing of the map, just from the side.
Wait, what?
How comic is that?
It's from the Flash series, like just recently. Okay, so he's saying it's a cone, then. That's what he's trying to say. You're looking at it from the top down. What do you mean? Like, okay. The higher points are the most conceptual areas, and the furthest deeper in the cone. Okay, so what's at the top of this cone? Is it the overvoid, or is it like the universe?
So the highest point was the overvoid, but like that's not what I meant. Like the capstone is supposed to be the Rock of Eternity.
The Rock of Eternity?
Yeah, and so here I'm just listing off a bunch of stuff that he got wrong so far. So far he didn't get a single thing right. Like, and I'm the one posting all the scans, and I'm like, please, in the beginning of this, I'm like, please just post some scans. I want some evidence. I'm not trying to be hostile or mean or anything like that. I just want to see your viewpoints. I need some objective evidence and not just opinions that you're just saying. I want to see the evidence. I want to see the objective statements. I want to see why you believe these things. I didn't get anything. I didn't get a single thing. So that's a lot of stuff to get wrong in like just a short amount of time. You know, planets were actually universes when they were just regular planets. Universes don't have molten cores. And he said, you know, he was getting more energy, but it said he was actually getting less.
Oh my fucking god, are we serious? Are we still going back to the planet thing? You said planets were universes, but the comics said that they were planets?
Oh,
yeah.
man. Okay, hold on.
Dude, like, I literally just proved that you're wrong, and you're still why are you backtracking?
He's saying that he proved me wrong without...
I don't know why you're being so disingenuous.
Without actually showing me, you know. Opinions don't really debunk anything.
All right. Why don't you just... Here, let me show you a scan real quick. This is literally the dark multiverse, which is just like a multiverse. It's literally uses Earth as limitations.
Yeah, so like he said earlier, not all the illustrations apply to every other illustration. So in this scene, they're talking about universes, but the other one...
Give me some source materials. Again, I'm using Dark Knight's Death Metal. I don't know why you're arguing against it though. You know what? Hang on. Let me.
So yeah, he never read the Flash Big Bang either to see that the Flash ran out into the greater omniverse, finds all the other old worlds that he rediscovered, and rediscovered means they were there already. They were there the entire time the Perpetual Multiverse was there. That's what rediscovered means. Like, you're finding them again. They were already there, and we have 2 guidebooks and an author interview that confirm that. Yeah.
Oh wait, here we go. Look at this. Wait, Lando, here. Why don't you use this during fucking Dark Crisis or what the fuck is the Pariah literally makes infinite universes and or like you bring back the universes and they're all Earth.
He also didn't read Dark Crisis either, so.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm trying. I'm saying that like Dark Crisis, Great Darkness was a trick Vandal Savage made.
And there's a lot of deflection going on here to other topics, you know.
Justice League versus. Okay, I want you to respond with the throughout the void, beings like Perpetua are tasked with starting multiverses. They do this by using connective energy born of the presence of the source. This energy is born of the source.
Yeah, I mean, Grant kind of defines the source as the cosmic armor, so. And the source of all things is the Ein Sof, which is supposed to be the cosmic armor, so. So, I mean, Secret Files 6 really confirmed all that Darkseid wrote everything as a fake story. Everything inside of that fake story was fake, including Psycho Pirate and the world he lived in, which was the Perpetual Multiverse, and it's only a few months old. It was directly stated.
I mean, we know that. We knew the darkness wasn't like actually a thing. The Pariah was controlling. Like how, and then just said, "Oh yeah, we like it wasn't the great darkness itself. It was actually Pariah's power." Pretty sure, wasn't it? Kinda.
What? What'd you say?
Wasn't it like in the story, like after the Dark Crisis shit, how and then learned that it wasn't even the Great Darkness, it was just Pariah's power itself that was like
I'm pretty sure. No, Pariah is like the greatest asset of like the Great Darkness, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was the best tricked person.
Like Pariah is like the
most easily
pawn for, like,
corrupted.
the Great Darkness.
Again, because he was crazy and he lost his, family and universe. So he was very, very easily malleable. Here their Slade just flat out saying that the Great Darkness wasn't real, even though he still had some of Pariah's power left in him from the Great Darkness energy that came from Vandal Savage. And Flash and Mr. Terrific basically making fun of everybody for thinking that the Great Darkness was real. They laugh. Like, he even gives a troll face there. Darkseid wrote all that. Like, a hurling comic panel in Bleed Space flying towards his secret base with Perpetua's totality symbol on it is wild. So... And I did prove it. I already showed. Some people just don't want to accept those things. It's really hard to understand and accept. I get it.
Wait, can you prove the source was made by Darkseid? No, you proved the Great Darkness. You didn't prove the source.
And again, here's Psycho Pirate.
Wait, so like, how is Darkseid gonna make the source when he scowls below it? Like, the source is above God's spirit.
He really thinks that just because the comic book says it's the source means it must be real, even if Darkseid made it.
My world is the original Earth. Yeah, what? Okay, so he remade a multiverse. Cool.
He didn't make a multiverse. He made a fake creation in Bleed Space.
He made a fake creation inside of Bleed Space. What?
As you can see, that's Perpetua's totality symbol on a comic panel hurling towards Darkseid's secret base that nobody knows where it is except these heroes. So how does this hurling thing behind them know where his secret base is? It's because he wrote it and he's calling it back to him. It's all there. I mean, Psycho Pirate there says that his creation is only a few months old, Finds Darkseid sitting out there saying he wrote it and he lived in a fake prison and it's his superpower to escape any prison, so he escapes and he finds Darkseid sitting out there saying that he wrote it. 3 different series, by the way, confirmed all of this. That's a lot. Not just 1, 3.
DK wasn't real, Perpetua wasn't real. What?
When the fuck is Darkseid created the universe? What the fuck? I'm lost.
Yeah, I'm lost too. Okay, so he's saying that Darkseid is like...
I know Darkseid created the absolute universe. I don't know if he created the fucking main DC universe.
No, Absolute is new. It has
I know
nothing to
you're
do
also
with the
trying to
Perpetua cosmology.
comics
He did that
that you
afterwards. The Metal series in Perpetua cosmology was a test run.
Absolute is a new thing Darkseid made after this creation, and the main universe is above and outside the perpetual multiverse. Wait, okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Where does does Darkseid reside in the sphere of gods, yes or no?
Sure, he resides in the sphere of gods, but he's not bound to it, you know. We've seen his true
So yes
form
or no
twice now
answer.
outside of it. They can float wherever they want. They're concepts. They're not bound by anything. Actually, I meant after 7.
Damn, pretty long explanation.
I don't. Darkseid's prime conceptual self did not reform until Metal 7, which is the plot of Dark Crisis and Incarnate. Where do you think his prime conceptual self resides in? What do you think his true form is? What do you think it is?
Well, we see it in Final Crisis in the mortal realm, talking to Superman, so.
It resides anywhere he damn well pleases. He has no limits. What?
Damn.
What?
Damn, man,
Last time I checked, that man was bound to the sphere of gods.
No, there's no reference to anything like that anywhere in DC history.
You're from Darkseid and Final Crisis. In the mortal realm. And those are conceptual entities as well. They either conceptual form anywhere in creation. Yeah, because they scale above the sphere of gods. That's a really bad comparison.
They don't scale above the sphere of gods. They're in the sphere of gods, so they don't scale above it. And I'm trying to be super patient and nice because they're not being toxic. And again, no hate here or anything like that. It's just clear that, like, they just need, like, a reread on a few things to get everything sharpened. So yeah, like, bleed exists beyond every single universe. We all know that. Every universe and most of the realms have their own source wall. It leads to the same place, the same source wall. So when one source wall breaks, all the other ones break because it's the same wall. No matter what, really, most of the realms that you are in, when you reach the end of it, which is nearly impossible through conventional means, you need something special to get past that, to pass the Promethean galaxy anyway. And then you meet the source wall, and it's the same source wall in every single universe that you're getting to. So it's like an omni wall that exists in pretty much every realm and universe. The fifth dimension has one. The Dreaming has one. They even talk about it in older comics.
Just like the bleed is beyond the source, or the source walls of each universe. Okay, yeah, it's beyond the source
I
walls
never
of
said
each
it was
universe,
beyond the
sure.
source
I
itself.
can agree to that, but that doesn't mean it's beyond the source itself.
Nil. I mean, Nil is not the monitor sphere.
But the Nil is in the overvoid. I never said.
Yeah, it was one of the
before,
first things that he said earlier.
Wait, what? Yeah, I'm. That's not a straw man. It's not a straw man. I was just clarifying. You said Cass is bound to the monitor sphere. Want me to flip it? Yeah, Cass is bound to the monitor sphere. I don't think it's either the nil or the monitor sphere. I don't think there's any scans that show him being above either of those.
It's the most famous image of the cosmic armor floating in the overvoid alone before anything else. So I just wild stuff. That's not the blue monitor sphere. The monitor sphere didn't exist until Nick Swotan made it after Final Crisis. That's the overvoid. Even a guidebook here tells you that the tube there contains everything. It's all of existence. So again, that's why on the map it says the source is outside of the source wall in the overvoid, because the Kaz is the source. It's defined identically the same by Grant Morrison. That's also from the Multiversity. And again, notice I'm only using his sources that he wanted to use. So he used it originally, so that's what I'm using. Using his own sources to prove my own points. So.
All right. Where's the first statement from? In the guidebook. Yeah, that. Yeah, where's that from? The multiverse guide. Can you? All right, multiversity guidebook. So what's going to happen to this? World beyond other things. With this version, not two versions. I think it's the close version. So again, blue monitor sphere. What? Blue monitor sphere?
Yeah. The overvoid is not the blue monitor sphere. Overvoid is not below the source wall. The overvoid is outside of the source wall. So yeah, I gotta... And I'm colorblind, by the way, so even I know it's blue, bluish.
Oh, alright. What color is the monitor sphere, above or below the source wall?
This scan with Kaz is not in the monitor sphere. It's in the overvoid.
Wait, whoa, hang on. So you're telling me that... Okay, so Limbo would be above the monitor sphere? Is that what you're saying? Because if this is a cone, so would Limbo be above the monitor sphere?
I don't know why he's saying that. Like, it's listed on the left side of the map.
Because if you're describing it, Limbo is the author, Avatar's on the egg, fictional space according to Grant in the guidebook. The monitor sphere is beyond that, and so place is made after fun. I'm sorry, I'm just like confused on how this. All right, maybe I'm not tracking. I don't understand how this cone is supposed to go. What is the bottom and what is the top? How is this cone supposed to go? Is the multiverse supposed to be at the bottom and what, the overvoid or the source is at the top?
Yes. The mortal realm is the least important. And that's what the very far left side of the map shows with the intensity wave. The intensity wave gets more intense the closer you get to the source and the overvoid.
No, bleed is at the top of the sphere of the cone because it includes the IRL world according to Grant and also fictional space. Bleed is based on bulk space and real physics and M theory.
You're going to have to see it like bleed space is the entire container. Well, most of the container anyway.
Okay.
Like,
bleed is the top, which contains Marvel and DC comics, all of it. Again, I don't think that. Okay, bleed is the top. Okay, is Wired.com an interview? Because if Wired.com is an interview, again, I've already said this before. I don't agree with author interviews.
And I told him already. He's explaining his own comics. He's explaining his own comics in those interviews.
All right, here's this. From the lightless obsidian deeps of the supervoids, to the shattered source wall that separates our material universe from sublime non-dual omni-awareness. Can you explain that? Can you explain what this first scan means, the own omni-awareness?
Yeah, the omni-awareness is it's one of the statements about the overvoid in Final Crisis.
The omni-awareness is the overvoid, a statement.
And it's all over Grant's book, by the way. Actually, 2 of his books. It's in Super Gods and also his Vedic, Hinduism, Vedic, Voidism book that he wrote.
Also, lots of interviews that you don't want to hear, but that's okay. It's also in Grant's book. Detailed? Which book?
Yeah, I don't have all the scans on my laptop, so this was the worst possible time for me to accept a debate here. They're all on my home computer desktop.
Oh yeah, monitor. Just letting you know, I'm gonna have to go to work soon, so I might have to postpone. But I still got 15 minutes left, so we can continue for 15 more minutes. Then I have to go to work. Ramen, you want to add Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add him, I got.
Yeah, it is.
Again, I haven't done DC in a long time, so. Last time I've done DC was probably in 2023 when I was still repping Presence. That dude is below Sphere of Gods now. It's so sad.
What? No, he would never.
I'm saying no, he's below Sphere of Gods. It's so bad.
I mean, we see that in the Lucifer 2000 series, by the way, where the presence is just one infinitely small part of the Prelea Void. So.
TDK wasn't even real, and neither was Perpetua. Manhattan also implies it too. Wait, so what, is Manhattan real?
And this is a big one too, with Dr. Manhattan. So is Manhattan lying, you rarely see this scan used in Scalar's debates.
No, Jack, don't.
No.
Yeah, when he comes and looks at creation, he drops accidentally into Darkseid's creation first, and he's like, what's happening here?
Dark multiverse is a byproduct of someone changing Earth Zero's timeline. Wait, but TDK is basically just Manhattan, but with Crisis.
And all plot point written by Darkseid. So not the real one. Not the real Manhattan's energy.
A clone of Manhattan? It's not a clone, it's just a variant.
And he's right, it's a variant, a clone variant, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, I think 4 total series have said this now, and 2 guidebooks, and 2 authors. Really driving this home, that the entire Perpetua cosmology wasn't technically a real place. Even though you can still go there, the fake places within reality are still places that people can go. The point of me saying that it's not real is that Darkseid wrote it. It's not a normal part of the orrery, okay? It's a cosmology that Darkseid made. And when Flash goes out there, he finds the real Calvin Ellis, who is also in Incarnate, but it's a different Calvin Ellis. It's the original from the older comic series that has been out there the entire time. He's not the same one that was helping the Justice League fight in Incarnate.
So yeah, I mean, they really want to push the perpetual creation in a contained timeline variant that Darkseid made, while the normal rest of the Ori world was outside of it. Flash accidentally finds it and rediscovered Calvin Alice in the original Anti-Monitor, lots of old universes from old and newer areas.
Yeah, so that Anti-Monitor is not Perpetua's son. He's been out there the entire time. This location that Flash is running in and talking with the Anti-Monitor in is literally outside of the entire Perpetual multiverse. He literally runs outside of the boundary into the greater Omniverse and discovers the greater Omniverse is actually the Lost Crisis on Infinite Earths multiverse that we thought the Anti-Monitor deleted. But he didn't delete it, he just shifted it a little bit, and he's been out there eating worlds the entire time, while in this secluded area of bleed space, Darkseid wrote this thing, and I almost click on a virus there. So that's why I hate these websites. It's fucking awful, terrible. Never go on them. Terrible.
It leaves the perpetual multiverse boundary the worlds from COI.
I'm trying to get the scans from someplace so I can get it to him. Thankfully, this website is not virus prone. But yeah, that Calvin Ellis right there, that's not the one from Incarnate, the one that was helping fight
Dude,
Darkseid.
This is probably why DC has like shitty ass scales. Like, imagine having such a bomb ass event like fucking like Dark Crisis, or like not Dark Crisis, Death Metal, and then like their shit's like not real. Like just like imagine like fucking Secret Wars, and then they're like, JK guys, that was just all Iron Man's dream.
And he finally understands now, which is great.
Here's just one example of a fight he was having.
It technically was for Darkseid anyway. None of it was technically real in that sense. And mad respect to both of them for agreeing with this and finally seeing the light, because they were totally on the other side of this, 30 minutes ago. And now after seeing these things that they never saw before, which are censored by so many content creators on YouTube and TikTok, you'll never see these on any other website, on any other forum, on any other content creator's page except mine. For a reason. There's a reason for that. See these Earth 22, Earth 27, those are usually Orrery worlds, but they're outside in the greater Omniverse. Now how can that be if the greater Omniverse section is outside of the Perpetual multiverse? Where's 27 and 13 and 23 in the Perpetuaverse? Well, they're still in there. They're not the real ones. The real ones are outside of it. That's the ones that the Flash is running through right now. He's meeting all of his old friends from the Crisis on Infinite Earths era. He's meeting and rediscovering them because remember, everybody's memory was wiped. They didn't remember what happened.
Are they just all different Earths? Actually, the actual Anti-Monitor is not Perpetua's son.
So now that their memories are back, he's remembering all of his old friends from all the other Crisis on Infinite Earths worlds.
Really?
They're the originals.
Are you shocked?
Yep.
Flash is so lucky.
That Anti-Monitor is not Perpetua's son, wasn't part of the Perpetual multiverse, was outside of it the entire time, rampaging and destroying worlds and killing people.
What the fuck is DC doing, bro?
Like, all in the Perpetuaverse, but also outside of the Perpetuaverse. The ones inside are the fake ones that Darkseid wrote. The ones outside are the real ones, because he's rediscovering them. And the Anti-Monitor is shocked that the Flash is still alive. Perpetua's son, the Anti-Monitor, knows that the Flash is still alive. The last time they saw this Anti-Monitor, the Flash died in Crisis on Infinite Earths. So he's shocked.
You're good, bro, but like, can you show me the scan of like, what's his face being like sorry, I'm losing my words. Of him saying that he's not Perpetua's son.
Yeah, it's right at the last pages of Death Metal 7 where the Flash is explaining that everyone is accounted for. All the villains are accounted for except Darkseid. So he knows where everybody is. All the Anti-Monitor, all the villains, everybody except Darkseid. He doesn't know where Darkseid went because it's outside of the scope of the creation that Darkseid made. He was outside of it, and we see that in Secret Files 6, that he's been sitting outside of it the entire time. But the Anti-Monitor is accounted for by the Flash, and then he runs into the Anti-Monitor outside of it, and this one's been there for a very, very, very long time, decades. He's been killing universes and rampaging, and these other heroes here have never faced the Anti-Monitor, okay? Because in the original Antimatter wave in Crisis on Infinite Earths, they died instantly. Those worlds never had a chance to fight back. So these heroes are fighting him for the first time. They're seeing him for the first time. And by the way, there's a guy in a beanie hat who doesn't want you to see any of this. He says he beat me in that debate. We never even got to these scans, by the way. He fled as soon as I posted these, and for good reason. This is a good one, too. Like, the origin of the Anti-Monitor here is completely different from Perpetua's son, the Anti-Monitor.
That doesn't mean they're winning. They're realizing that the Anti-Monitor is of a power level unlike anything they've ever faced. They need to...
Perpetua's son, the Anti-Monitor, was roaming around doing whatever he wants. So banishing this Anti-Monitor to the Antimatterverse, and he's stuck there? Oh my god. Well, that was like nothing for Perpetua's. Remember, he was on nil. He was like running around over, in the other Antimatterverse, and he can teleport in and out of it anytime he wanted. He wasn't stuck there. But this Anti-Monitor actually is, because he's a different one.
Well, my judge left. Where'd he go?
Alright, well, in the meantime, I'm gonna have to... Okay, alright, I'm gonna have to get off then, too. Do you want to just, like, postpone, like, the debate? Because, like, yeah, I'm about to go to work, too. Yeah, I got you, man. Peace.
Nice guy. I have no problem with him whatsoever. I'm mad respect for this person, because he went from absolutely not to, oh, I get it. He went from, this isn't true. How could you say that? He was really feisty with me for a long time. And then by the end of it, he's like, oh man, they really did say this, didn't they? Yes, they really did say that. That's the whole point. That's what a lot of people fight me on. I'm just trying to explain what the comics and the source material said. So it was amazing to have somebody be non-toxic, feisty, but non-toxic, and finally see the light. This is how 90% of my debates go that I don't post. I only post the really bad ones, but I do like every now and then to post some of the fun ones like this that are non-toxic, even though they're a little bit boring and they kind of drown on a little on. I even had to speed it up, by 1.5 just to make this a little shorter, because it was like an hour total. But yeah, like, super nice guy. I hope we can chat more. I hope I can show him more things, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Believe me, we did not get into the cast stuff. We didn't get into the Final Crisis stuff. We didn't get into the multiverse, the other multiverse stuff. We didn't get into a lot of the other stuff. And I think that might be just too much information for one person who just came to the other side of the aisle after seeing all this stuff that he never saw before. So again, this is really important. I know that a lot of people aren't going to watch this. I'm going to struggle for like 50 views, and that's totally fine. At least the 50 who do watch it will understand that the toxic side, the bad side, is completely wrong on all of this. And every now and then you get a really nice, respectful person like this who starts off on that side, even though they're not toxic. They're on the wrong side of it, on the bad information side of it. And then they get shown the facts, and then they realize, wait a second, it's like, what if they did Secret Wars and it was just a dream, is basically what happened here. I'm like, yeah, well, that's exactly what the whole thing was. So thank you for watching. I hope you understood the reason why I do this. It's really important. Comics are important. Mythology is important. And it's even more important to stand up to liars and bullies and people who scam other people for donations and shout the most ridiculous nonsense about mythology. You got to fight them verbally. Try to be nice about it. Do better than I did anyway. And yeah, thanks for watching.